wonderful news of science of mind and new thought into the world. If this is your first time, welcome. Please see a welcome team member out in the lobby for a special gift for you. Our theme of the month is Glow Up. And today, lost my spot, sorry about that. Let us center ourselves, which I need to do, as we prepare to say our affirmation. I will read the affirmation all the way through, and then I will invite you to say it with me. I am the light of divine love, shining boldly through every circumstance. The radiance of spirit glows within me and expresses through all that I do. Even in the dark night of the world, my light cannot be diminished. It becomes brighter, stronger, and more courageous. My love dissolves fear. My faith transforms despair. And our unity reveals the presence of God everywhere, now and always. So we'll read this together now. Everybody join me. I am the light of the dawn, shining boldly through every circumstance. The radiance of spirit glows within me and expresses through all that I do. Even in the dark night of the world, my light cannot be diminished. It becomes brighter, stronger, and more courageous. My love dissolves fear. My faith transforms despair. And our unity reveals the presence of God everywhere, now and always. And so it is. I have an announcement to make. SLCA practitioner Tony Jenkins is ready to answer any question you have about spirituality next Sunday at 5. Perhaps you have been curious about certain spiritual practices, but have had few opportunities to discuss them with like-minded people. Every third Sunday, Tony leads a discussion group exploring topics that may be hard to talk about with your friends and family. This is one of the most popular workshops. So if you have not joined in yet, please check it out. Thank you.
Thank you, Nana.
You're welcome.
As Reverend Susan comes to the platform for our affirmative prayer, we want to just continue to keep that space of our opening heart and have a collective moment of singing. With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me. Amen. With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me. As I open and allow, I know right here and now, I create a world where wonders never cease. With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me.
My heart is full of gratitude. I am so grateful to live in a country that is still free. I know that I am safe here today. As many people in the world may not feel that right now, I am so grateful to be here, to hear spiritual truths, to be with like-minded people, to be supported and to be supportive of others. I know that I am safe. I am safe no matter what the appearance is. And when my fear comes up that I may not be safe, I remember I am always walking in God, and through God, as me. I am not all of God, but all I am is God. And so today I am so grateful to know this. And I bless every hand that has brought this service together. And I announce peace through the world, peace and safety. And no matter what it looks like, I stand firm in knowing of the perfect possibility of every moment for peace, for prosperity, for health, for love. And I know that the peace I carry in my heart, the love I carry, the health I carry, the joy that I have, I radiate out to every person within the sound of my voice, either now or later online. And I know that each of us here today come with a heart of love, a heart of gratitude, knowing the many blessings we have. And no matter what it looks like in my country, I know this is still one of the best places on the entire earth to be. I am grateful for the democratic process. I am grateful for the freedom of religion. I am grateful for the systems that support those in need and those who can give to those in need. I'm grateful for the music we have. I'm grateful for the people who come here online. I know that they find something for themselves. I know that every person affected in any way by this service has some understanding that is greater than before. And I am so grateful for every person who supports this service and this center in every way, because we have so many people who make this possible. And so I know today that I am safe, that I am loved, that I am upheld in the all-powerful hands of God, whatever form those hands may take, through this service, through music, through the words of a friend or a book, however they may come. I am blessed and upheld always. And so knowing that this is the truth, I let it radiate out, going throughout this universe to people I may never know, I may never meet. And I am so grateful for knowing my words are in the law right now and are being acted upon and actualized. So with joy in my heart and knowing there is nothing to impede these words put forth with clear intent, I simply say thank you. Namaste, aloha, blessed be, shalom, amen. And together if you care to, and so it is.
With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me. With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me. As I open and allow, I know right here and now, I create a world where wonders never cease. With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me. As time has unfolded me, it has revealed to me life's nothing less than sublime. With every thought I make, every last breath I take, may I be gracious and kind. Love, I invite you to open up this heart of mine. Love, cover me, light in a darkness. Love, cover me, right every wrong. Cause me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Kindness wash over me, make me a symphony, play every note you can find. Make me reverberate, gently deactivate, slowly flow out of my mind. Find me a melody, dance and may my anthem be. Love, cover me, light in a darkness. Love, cover me, right every wrong. Cause me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. I will not be shaken. I will not be moved. Love, cover me. May my heart awaken. Tenderness be proved. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. I need you on this one. Love, 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 love. Join me. Love, 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 love. You sound so good. Let's do it again. Love, 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 love. One more time. Love, 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 love. Find me a melody, dance, and may my anthem be. Love, cover me, light in a darkness. Love, cover me, right every wrong. Cause me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love, cover me. Love, 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 love. Love, 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 love. Good job, everybody. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm just going to use this one. It's not cabled. I get the honor of introducing our guest speaker today. Today's guest is a thought leader at the intersection of spirituality, science, and mental well-being. David Youngren is a spiritual philosopher, author, and meditation teacher who helps people unlock mental well-being through timeless wisdom and new science. He's inspired over 1 million people within live events and the books he's authored. He has a meaningful, heart-centered, and powerful story back of all the work he's doing, from healing emotional wounds, the power of meditation, and how our inner world shapes reality. David also explores the link between consciousness and quantum physics. He has numerous books, including his most recent, which is called Life Ascending. Unlocking Mental Well-Being Through Timeless Wisdom and New Science, a book that explores how ancient spiritual wisdom, neuroscience, and quantum physics converge to help us break free from the mental patterns that keep us stuck. Amen, amen. Let me just, we'll each get a copy today, right? This is also a guide to inner peace and deeper connection, perfect for anyone questioning belief systems and seeking a more authentic, love-driven life. I am excited to learn from his experiences and stories of what it truly means to be free, and how Jesus' wisdom, when understood through his cultural and linguistic lens, offers a radical shift in perspective, and how science confirms what the mystics have known all along, and that's you. Inner stillness is the key to transformation, amen? Get ready for a powerful message about consciousness, presence, and the path to inner peace. Please welcome David Youngren and his brain.
Wow, it's so good to be here with you. And Penelope, you really know how to play and sing. Wow. Like, I was so blessed. I thought, wow, didn't expect that. No offense, I just, it was incredible. It's so good to be with you. And I hear there's been some changes here, and I happen to be coming the week after. But I'm delighted to be with you. Wow. And to be here on a Sunday afternoon. Look at your neighbor and say, you look absolutely amazing today. How many look amazing today? Come on, raise your hand, just if it's you. So I want to talk today about a little bit, just give you a debrief of what the book is about, Life Ascending, and it will be available for those who want to get it after the service. But I want to just give you a little bit of an introduction so you have an understanding of what the book is about. I teach and I speak around the world about literally how a loving presence, the light within, is the key to seeing the world transformed. We have a lot of things that we offer the world, but I believe that the greatest thing that when we awaken to that transcending life, that loving presence within us, we can bring wholeness to the world. And not just by, but just by simply being love to the world. To see as love sees and live as love lives. It began for me a little bit, maybe perhaps about my history. I was an evangelical preacher for many years. I was a pastor, had a growing church, and traveled around the world and had the privilege of speaking sometimes to 75,000 people in what we call these big healing crusades. I mean, ever heard of those? And so I had the privilege of doing that. But then I went through kind of a spiritual crisis. I began to evaluate really what was true. And I remember one day I was going to play golf. How many ever play golf? So I'm going to play golf, and I thought I'm going to be by myself. So I went at a time when I could be by myself and just play. And I thought this is a time for me to just reflect and you use religious terminology that I was using back then, to just be with God and to pray and, to sound real spiritual, right? And so I thought I'm going to go, and then I thought I don't want to play with anybody. So I wanted to go at a time when it would be very quiet. And I said that to the person when I checked in for the golf. And so there was a person who was 500 yards away. On the first hole, I could see someone just putting in. At the first hole. And so I thought I'm going to take it slow. I'm going to walk really slow because I don't want to catch up to this guy. Not that I'm a good golfer. It takes me a long time anyhow. But so I played, and then I got to the second hole, and there the man was sitting, waiting for me. I was so disappointed. I thought, why is he waiting for me? Doesn't he know that my agenda from God is that I'm going to be by myself today? And so he said to me, I was waiting for you because I was hoping we could play together. What am I supposed to say? No, I don't want to play with you. I didn't want to be rude. So I said, Sure, let's play. And then I thought to myself, in my religious fervor, I thought, well, I'm just going to tell them my truth, or the gospel, my religious convictions. I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to convert them to my religion. How many of you met people like that? You try to stay away from them, right? And so I was one of those people. So I started, to the best of my ability, to preach to this guy on the golf course. And I noticed something quite distressing. He was more of a person of love than I was. He had this peace, he had this love, and he wasn't trying to tell me anything. He just exuded a warmth, a love, and peace, and kindness. And I thought, I was trying to tell him that he was wrong and I was right, and he had more warmth and love and peace and kindness than I had. I was a grumpy preacher. And I thought, this is not right. And so I continued to do this for almost 18 holes. And we parted ways, and I thought about this. How could this man exhibit and exude such warmth and love and peace if he didn't belong to my religion? That was the beginning for me. I began to think about how often we have made spirituality about a religious belief system, a story, a narrative, a doctrine, a holy book. But ultimately, if we truly even believe, if we think there's any truth in the Bible, as a Christian, of course, I base my life on the Bible. If I believe there's any truth in the Bible, isn't the ultimate revelation that God is love? And if I said that God is love, then love is not a doctrine, it's not a philosophy, it's an experience, right? It's an awareness of something deep within me. But we create form, we create rituals, we create religious expressions out of something that is ultimately just an awareness of something beyond form, beyond thought. That everything is rooted. Isn't that the highest virtue? And if we begin to see the world through that lens of love, how does that change how we approach one another, coming from different backgrounds, from different religious expressions, from different traditions? Whatever we are, it really doesn't matter. If love is at the core essence of everything, it changes how we live. And out of that then, took me a few years, but out of that came a transformation in my own life. Because at the same time as I was experiencing this and as I was traveling around the world, I was miserable on the inside. I used to think, well, I'm preaching this and I'm telling people about this, my interpretation of the truth, but I am miserable inside. If it's not working for me and I'm standing in front of all these people, if it's not working for me, how can I convince anybody else it's going to work for them? And I remember one time, it was 2008. I was sitting on my bed where we live in California, and I was overlooking down the canyon. And I had this plethora of negative emotions. I just felt like, what's the purpose of it all? Is there a reason for any of this? And I remember sitting on the bed. It wasn't even a prayer. It was just like it's almost like an angry voice. I said, Jesus, you said, I didn't even know if I said you said, but Jesus said, you shall know the truth and the truth shall make you free. Well, I'm not free, and I'm teaching the truth. So either Jesus, the whole story is a lie, or I must be missing something about the truth. Because if I'm not free, then either the whole thing is a lie, or I'm missing something about the truth, and I completely misunderstood. And then I thought about all the people I knew and all the preachers I knew, and I realized the whole thing is a mess. Is there something that we are missing about the truth? And I began a journey of studying many different spiritual traditions, studying science, neuroscience, and quantum physics, and then I also began to study Jesus through the Aramaic language. And I was totally blown away because it was so different than I had been raised to believe in church. Just so different. So I want to take a few moments and just share some of these things with you. Is that okay? Is that okay? So, what is truth? The question that I've always asked myself, the question I ask myself, what is truth? Now, when I began to look at what Jesus said, in the Aramaic, truth doesn't mean the Bible. Truth doesn't mean a doctrine, which is what a lot of people associate with truth. But truth, in the words of Jesus, meant inner light arising in your heart in the present moment. Isn't that completely different than what, traditional religions teach us? An inner light arising in our hearts in the present moment. So, what does that mean? Well, I began to think about what is light. Well, it is something that illuminates. Now, it's an inner light, so the inner light illuminates something, makes us see something. So it's not like the external lights that we have here, it illuminates this room, but there is an inner light that illuminates something. What does it illuminate? And then I thought about, what is this light? And some of you have already heard this teaching, but before I get into the brain, I want to explain this so that you have a good understanding before I talk about the brain. You notice I brought a couple of brains here with me, or actually just one brain, 2 halves. I didn't bring my wife. I thought I'd bring the brain instead. So I began to look at that word, and in scriptures it said, light is the life of humanity. Now, there are 2 words in Greek for life. One is bios, and one is zoe. Bios is in reference to life within space, time, and matter. Albert Einstein said that time only exists where there is space and matter, right? How many heard that? So there is life, there is a lifespan. So when you were born, and then when I was born, well, we were very small. We looked cuddly and cute and everything else. But then we grew up, and then eventually it started going downhill. How many know what I'm talking about? We don't look like we did. We have more wrinkles. Just a lot of things happen to us. And that is the bios life. But then there is what we call the zoe life. Now that was a life outside of time, outside of the dimension of space and matter. So it was not something you could see. But think about it this way. When you were 2 years old, and whatever age you are now, there's nothing about you that really is the same. When you were 2 years old, you all look different. At least I hope so. I mean, we all look different, right? But still, consciousness was there. You were conscious. The I am existed there. So I am was there. It hasn't changed. The emotions, the thoughts, and all those things, the physical aspect of me, the form has changed, but the essence is still the same I am. So you've heard this, and I'm sure so I'm not teaching anything new to here, but that I am is your truest and deepest essence. So I thought about that. The truth is the light, and so the light speaks to the I am. And then as I began to study, of course, in Aramaic, the wisdom of Jesus, I see that it says that God is light. Now, we've been taught in my religious background, we were taught that God is up there somewhere, the old man sitting up there in the sky somewhere waving at us. I don't know how far you have to go to find him, by the way. It's like a pretty big universe. I don't know if people have figured that out, but there's lots of galaxies. So we had this idea of God that is, in other words, just a human reflection. It's based on our own limited understanding of reality. It's quite simplistic when you think about it. But God, think about it, it says, I am that I am. When God said, I am that I am. So the light here goes back again to consciousness. So I began to think about consciousness because it's something that exists, and even science and neuroscience confirms this, that many people believe that there is a dimension beyond what we see in the physical realm. So there's a theory called a quantum, what's it called now? Entanglement theory, and there's another one I'm trying to remember, the observer effect. I don't know if you heard of the observer effect, where it's only by observation that two particles leave the state of probability and become part of the dimensional world that we can see and feel and experience, right? So I started thinking about what is the ultimate consciousness then? It's the I am that I am. You could say that God is the ultimate consciousness. So, and God is not involved in space and matter. In fact, when you think about some of the other scriptural and some of the things that Jesus said, God the Father is above all, through all, and in all. So it's not like, even in the very core essence of who we are, there is God, consciousness. Our own consciousness is an extension of God's consciousness. We heard this before. So we are, I had this understanding, I started having this new understanding, new revelation, new insights. And I thought, well, that is incredible when you think about it. And then Jesus said, I am the light of the world. And I was thinking about, what does that mean? Well, he said, before Abraham was, I am. So what was he referring to? Well, he wasn't referring to his physical form or shape, because Abraham existed maybe a couple of thousand years before Jesus. So it wasn't that he was referring to. He was referring to the timeless essence of consciousness. Because it says also, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. How can something be before the beginning? That's an oxymoron, right? In the beginning was. So the beginning here refers to time, space, and matter, what we're able to perceive and see. So something was there before the beginning. What was that? That was before the beginning. It was the Word. And the Word then was with God, and the Word was God. And the Word became flesh, he says. So the I am became embodied in the form of Jesus. But then it says, and Jesus said, you are the light of the world. So then you could say that the light, the I am that we are, is an extension of God as light, and that we are all one. Now remember too what it says, that God is love. What does love mean? Love doesn't mean that, love essentially is a sense of union of all things. It's a recognition that I'm in you and you are in me. It's being able to see beyond the superficiality of our separation between our sense of black or white, American or European or African or Asian or Chinese or whatever. It's being able to see beyond these labels, gay or straight or Democrats and Republicans or Buddhists or atheists or Christians or Jews, is to be able to see beyond the superficiality of our physical bodies, beyond the creation, and recognize the true essence is consciousness. I am. And that consciousness, when we come to a place of stillness, when we meditate, we come to that place of inner stillness. And when we are in that place of inner stillness, we're simply aware. There's no more labels. Isn't that true? And so we are all the same. That's the beauty of life. Isn't that good? Can you imagine when people begin to see this more? When we begin, rather than look at one another with suspicion and mistrust and, oh, you're one of those, huh? And begin to see the very essence of God. I mean, I wish my Christian friends would get this. Because we see things, Christians many times see things through their tribe, through their doctrine, through their lens. We are the ones. We are in and you are out. But if you actually understand In God we live and move and have our being. None of us are separated from God. Wow. Isn't that much better? So Jesus said something revolutionary. I often thought about that. He said, I don't know if we have a slide that can show you this. If you can go down, I'll make sure. He says, if the light is darkness, how great is that darkness? So if you think of light, that you are light, the very essence of who you are is this inner light that illuminates the world, the I am, your sense of self, that is one with God, that is one with your neighbor and your friends, and even the people that you dislike. I know you love everybody here, but if in case there's anybody you dislike, just recognizing that God's essence is in them. Those people, if you come to that point in understanding of this, but why is there darkness? This light can become dark, it says. So what causes our minds to become dark? Well, the darkness, and I thought, as I'm giving you a lot of biblical text here today, but I want to, I'm a theologian in many ways. And I say that humbly in many ways because a lot of things I don't know. But I have studied enough to know, and because of what I did before, so I understand this differently, how it changed my view differently. So this may be, even if you're not coming from a Christian background, this might be helpful to understand. So how many remember the story of Adam and Eve? You remember that story? And how they, the Christian terminology, the original sin. Well, it's a metaphor of something greater, right? So it says here, they were as one. Oneness is ultimately the essence of love. Would you agree with me? So, they were as one, and then they were told that they could not eat of the tree or the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. You remember that? Because the day they would eat it, they would surely die. Now, they ate of the fruit, but did they die? Of course, as I said, this is a metaphor. They didn't die physically. Now, the word for death means separation. So what was it that happened when they ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil? It was a form of separation in their mind from awareness of their oneness with one another and with God. They began to identify with their physical form, with their emotions, with their thoughts, rather than the inner light of their true essence. So then it says that they could not eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. What was the tree of knowledge of good and evil? A couple of things I want you to see about this. First of all, there's a difference between know and knowledge in spiritual text. Knowing is being aware. It's always in the present moment, in the now. I'm aware of you now. I'm aware of you now. So it's a sense of knowing I'm aware of you. Knowledge has to do with something that happened in the past. Something that you have stored in your memory, right? Knowledge, you gained something in experience, you learned something, you studied something, and it became knowledge. And now it is in your brains. It has been programmed into your brain as an explicit memory and an implicit memory. There's a difference between explicit memory and implicit memory. Explicit memory is the kind of memory that we all recall. You can recall what happened yesterday, or perhaps when you say, well, I remember this. That's the explicit memory. But implicit memory is feeling memory. So you don't actually recall what happened, but something within you triggers that memory. It could, maybe people who have been abused. I see many people who have been abused. Suddenly there's something that comes on them. Maybe it's because they see a person, someone who looks like their abuser. I heard about one woman who was abused by a man in blue shirt. And whenever she saw someone wear a blue shirt, something would trigger. She didn't even know what. She doesn't even remember the man. But something would trigger a sense of nervousness, attention, anxiety would come upon her. Because it was an implicit memory. So knowledge of good and evil is then a something that happened in the past that we made an emotional judgment about. So you judge something as bad. And when you judge something as bad, what do? If it's someone else who did something to you, you judge them and you punish them by withdrawing from them. That's how most of us act. The fight, flight, or freeze network kicks in. So we either run away from them, or we fight back, or we lay down and just say, stay away from me. So we made a judgment, and now we punish them, and what you punish, you turn into your enemy, and what do you do with your enemy? You never want to see them again, right? But what happens when we have done wrong? How many ever done anything wrong? 3, 4, 5. When we do something wrong, what happens then? Well, we can run away from it, but what we can do, we exhibit the same symptoms. So we say, oh, I need to be punished. And we turn whatever we did, we turn that into the enemy of ourselves, and now we suppress it into our subconscious, where it still resides. And then affects how we live our lives. So it creates this tension and anxiety because we don't want that anymore in our life. We don't want to associate with that anymore. So we try to suppress it. We try to get rid of it, but it's always there. The more you try to push something down, it's like a beach ball. You try to push it down into the water, it's going to pop back up again, right? So there are triggers. When we have done things wrong, there are triggers that come about, and we begin to have the feelings over and over again, and that creates a feedback loop in your mind, so you can feel it in your body. Your mind starts talking about it. You ruminate about it. You think about it. And it becomes like a recurring thing that always kind of catches you off guard and that causes you to be upset or angry or sad or depressed or something else. Now, I brought this little model here, as you can tell. So if I would explain this to you through the brain here. So there are basically 3 major parts of the brain. You have the neocortex, which is in charge of the rational mind, compassion, logic, and so on. It's the reasoning mind. It's very helpful. That's the best part of your brain in many ways. But then you also have what we call the limbic system, which is your emotional brain. Now, your emotional brain has many different parts, and then you have the cerebellum here too, which is the automatic brain. So anything, for example, brushing your teeth. How many ever think about, I'm going to go and brush my teeth. Let me start over here and do this. How many think like that? You just do it, right? And you get in the car, you think about, well, let me see now. What do I need to do next? I need to turn here. You don't have a conscious thought about it. You just do it. It's because of this part of the brain here, the cerebellum. So even behaviors and attitudes can be programmed into the cerebellum. So we have a lot, if something happened in our life, their cerebellum can be programmed to have a certain attitude or behavior that you just do it automatically. You don't even want to do it, but you just do it automatically. You say, I don't know why. It's because it's been programmed there. Now, the interesting thing is there is a part here of the brain in the middle, which is called the thalamus. The thalamus is where you sense things, where you observe things. It's basically, they say that every second it processes 6 to 10 million pieces of information. So right now, you're taking in every second 6 to 10 million pieces of data, but you're only conscious of 50 of them. So what happens to all this data? Remember, your brain is basically designed to keep you alive. That's the job of the brain, to keep you alive. So now you have all this data, and right next to this is the amygdala, which is the threat part of the brain. So whenever you feel threatened, it's supposed to help you keep alive. So it's no wonder that the part that is nearest to the thalamus is the amygdala, because it's supposed to help you stay alive. Now, the amygdala relies on information of the past. So past data has been programmed in here so that there are things that have happened in your past that still makes you anxious and afraid. It's not just the bear lurking behind some tree that you're afraid of anymore, but we are afraid of things that happened to us. Maybe we went through a bad divorce, or maybe we went through some other experience, and it's caused this kind of inner turmoil in our life. So every piece of information, every piece of data is first processed through the amygdala to see if it's a threat. And so the more it's been programmed with all this negativity, all these bad things that have happened, the more we become darkened in our minds, that we're not even using this neocortex. And it now embeds in our cerebellum a new code for how we live. So we are essentially living out, it actually changes our sense of self. We're essentially living out who we believe ourselves to be. We live out the reality of who we believe ourselves to be. And so people say, well, I'm living, I don't know, I understand why I got all these recurring thoughts over and over again, and we try everything in our power. How many ever try to get rid of some bad thoughts? Or you lay at night and you can't sleep. I wish I could sleep. And you just, the day you rehearse it, you go through it over and over again, you think about it over and over again, you ruminate about the same thing over and over again. And what does it do? It feeds your body, so you can feed it in your body. Now your body begins to communicate back to the brain, and so now it's an ongoing thing. And you just say, I wish I could shut this brain off. How many know that most of the thoughts you have, you don't even want to have them? You're not even in control of your thoughts, right? You just have thoughts that just come, that pop in there. It's like, wow, and then you get stuck in thinking the same thing over and over and over and over again. But who is that one who doesn't want to have the thought? Have you ever thought of that? In other words, there's still the light within you where the sense of love, the loving presence, the presence with God, the sense of oneness is always there, but our minds have been obscured because of all the threats, all the things that have happened in our lives, that our light has become darkened. So let me give you a couple of examples. Is that okay? I just want to make sure I'm not overstepping my time here. But you know, it's when you guest speaker, one thing I've learned is this: it's easier to ask for forgiveness than for permission. I'm not here next week, so, you know. But anyhow, let me carry on. Let me go on here. But I can't even remember what I was talking about. I'm talking about telling a story. So let me tell you something that will get everybody awake. I wrote about this in my Substack post last week, and something I wrote about in a book, one of my earlier books, about this woman named Caitlin, who went to a bachelorette party in Miami. She was married, and when she went to this bachelorette party, she did something inappropriate with a male stripper. Let me put it that way. And everybody saw it. So you can imagine what she felt about that. She was obviously very drunk. She goes home, and she's like completely devastated by what happened. But she tells her husband. And he had a hard time in the beginning, but eventually he forgave and moved on. Like Caitlin, she couldn't forgive herself. Why? Because she had done something wrong that she tried to suppress in her memory. But what you do wrong, this is how it's been instilled since childhood, the things that we do wrong deserve punishment. It's like we kind of instinctively know this from court cases, whatever. So the worse your offense, the greater the penalty. So in her mind, she had done such a horrible thing that she deserved to be punished really, really bad. So she tried for 3 years. But the more she thought about it, the more she created a story about herself. Now, the incident only lasted a few minutes, but the story lived on. She kept telling the story. It was here, living on in her feeling memory, and then also an explicit memory, and she relived it over and over and again, and she told herself, you are so filthy, you are a cheater, you are this. She told herself a story about who she was. Now, how many people are not living in past regrets? So she had to punish herself, and because she thought her whatever crime, whatever word you want to use, that what she did was so terrible, she had to punish herself, and eventually she divorced her husband and basically just started drinking and sleeping with lots of different men. I thought I would get your attention with this story. But then, when she began to come to a point of understanding what was really truly going on, she recognized the true essence of her was the light within. And the light, well, if you begin to allow that light to shine on those dark corners of your memories, it will begin to deactivate those memories. If you no longer try to run away from them, if you no longer try to suppress those memories, but you allow the light within you, that presence of love, this loving, peaceful presence, to just observe the past without condemnation, without judgment, it frees you from the pain and the scars of the past. Does that make sense? So, there's an interesting biblical verse, because ultimately, how can we be enlightened to this inner presence and allow all that mental anguish, those voices in our heads? How many know of the voices in our heads that keep talking nonstop? And some of them are not good stories. How can we allow that light to rise within us? Now, there's an interesting, as I said, interesting scriptural reference where it talks about, I'm trying to remember exactly what it says now. It talks about that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. Now, you have to understand Christ. Many people disassociate that with Jesus, but in fact, the Bible says Christ is all and in all. You can use whatever name you want to use. Many different traditions use many different names, but it really speaks of the light within you, the light of love within you. So, that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. Now, how many have heard of the word faith? I started thinking about this, that for most people, faith is in the neocortex, in the logical mind. What does a logical mind want? A story. It wants a doctrine. It wants a book. It wants something they can see. Something that, we like the logical mind to be involved. The limbic system operates by fear. So we want to escape the painful feeling that we have of being threatened. Now, what's the greatest threat? It's death, right? So a lot of people go to church because they are afraid of what will happen when they die. Especially if you heard about hell, right? You're afraid of that, so a lot of faith is rooted in the limbic system. And then you have the automatic brain. I was raised, Mama went to church. I go to church. People go to church all their lives, and they don't, because it's just a habit, it's a tradition. They've been doing it all their lives. But what if faith is of the heart? What is the heart? Well, according to the Hebrew scholars, they believe that there was the Ruah of God, which is, in other words, for the consciousness of God, the Spirit of God. And then there was the Nafsha, which was our individual spirit, so our individual consciousness. And in between, the share field was actually one. It was one, which is what we're talking about right now. It was a one. The Ruah and Nafsha was not separate. They were one. But the heart was the field in between. And so what was this heart? And how do you communicate with that heart? Well, then it says, another scripture verse says, meditate within your heart and be still. Or commune with your heart and be still. So the way you cause this inner truth to rise within your heart is through meditation. Why is meditation so important? Because meditation is about quieting the noise in your head and coming to a place of inner stillness, where you're simply aware, right? You're just aware of something beyond yourself. And the more you sit in that place of awareness, the more you feel peace beyond understanding. Peace that surpasses understanding. A love that is unconditional, that is not based on I do something for you and you do something for me. It's free of all that. It's rooted in the inner light. The inner light rises within you. And you love people unconditionally, even if they don't like you. Have you ever given somebody a hug who you know don't like you? I find that incredibly refreshing and wonderful. You should try it. It's like you just go up, oh, hey, how you doing? And you can look in their face and say, oh, how you doing? Oh, I love you. It's incredible. But when that, how are we able to do that? When we allow the light to shine and allow the light to shine on all the dark places in our brain, right? When we come to that place of innocence, now we allow whatever surfaces, whatever goes on inside of us, we allow the light to shine on all those dark corners of our mind and disempower the thought patterns, the negativity, the trauma, the hurt, the depression, and just come to a place of freedom. An inner freedom where you just say, wonderful. I tell the story, and I'm about to close. I tell the story told this many, many times. More times than I even know how many times. But do you want to hear the story? Should I finish? In 2005, we just moved from Canada to California. And I was pretty angry. I was pretty hurt. People had done me wrong, but I was also upset with myself. I had done wrong. So I was both a victim. I felt like a victim. How many people don't walk around like victims? We all do that from time to time. So I felt like a victim, but I also was feeling that the guilt and the shame of what I had done wrong. And I couldn't shake it. I said, I moved away, and here I'm coming to California from Canada, and I'm feeling miserable. And I'm traveling around speaking, I'm feeling miserable. And I started having cluster headaches. How many have heard of cluster headaches? Cluster headaches, according to Dr. Google, I've read this on Google. This was before AI. Is the worst pain a human can suffer. Now, I said that in one place one time, and a lady raised her hand and said, you have never given birth to children. So I only say this, I have never given birth to children. I'm only telling you what Google told me. And of course, Google is always right? No, I'm just kidding. But anyhow, the pain was so severe, I would have it every second day. And then every day. And then I started having it multiple times a day. And it would last like 3 hours, sometimes a little less. And it just continual. And I felt like someone sticking a knife in my eye. I would lie. I lay in bed and literally cry. I want to die. And I can't live like this anymore. And I remember I came from this very religious background. So I prayed. I did everything I knew how to do. But I didn't get better, I got worse. And so one day, it was 2006. meditation to me was like a sin from back when I came. Anybody raised in church here, you know, like, okay, well, meditation is just a terrible thing. And so I had this like inner, I don't know what it was. I just kind of knew that I had to, it was like a light. I think it was a light within me. Meditate. I said, I don't even know how to do it. So I'm walking down a set of stairs and I get in my car. I says, I don't know how to do this. I don't know if I should do this. I was scared of doing it, like I was going to do something wrong. But when you're really in a lot of pain, you don't care anymore. How many ever notice that? You don't care what anybody thinks. You don't care. You just want to be free from the pain. So I sat down, and I pictured this divine love. And as I sat there in the car, I was just overwhelmed with this sense of presence, a loving presence. I just sat there in quietness, thoughts subsided. I was just aware of this loving presence. And suddenly the pain just disappeared. And I never had cluster headaches since. People say, what was it that happened? See, I believe, maybe I'm wrong, but I believe that you and I are wired, and this is science will confirm this as well, are wired for love. We're wired for peace. Our bodies function best when we are aware of peace and love, when we live by this greater virtue. And that kind of makes sense if we actually believe there is a God, right? The highest virtue will be peace and love. So I think it was something that was not magical that happened. It was just the twistedness of my brain with all that negativity was suddenly free when I became aware of this loving presence and sat in that. It was a very short period of time. I sat in that loving presence. And since then, I started helping other people. And I started meditating a lot more myself, and I do it on a daily basis. Just allowing that loving presence. And we have a meditation. We have a number of different meditation programs we put together. And the interesting thing is that I took this and helped people over a 40-day journey. We had a 40-day journey of going through people through a program. And one lady started doing this. And she was diagnosed with brain cancer. And she did it for 6 months. Just allowing that loving presence. After 6 months, she went to the doctor and she took a brain scan again. And they said they saw no trace of cancer. This is not magic. It's not like people say it's a miracle. No, I think it's just naturally how your body is supposed to operate. When you become aware of a loving presence, the light within you, and you allow that light to shine on all the dark corners of your mind, you're free. There's no separation from God. There's no separation. We are one with God. It's just that our minds have been blinded, we can't see it. Isn't that good news? That the greatest treasure is not far away, is in you. Inner light arises in your heart, and when the inner light arises in your heart, you see as love sees. There's no more separation, and you live as love lives. Wow. Well, I talk a lot more about this in my book, and it's available for, I think we can put, if you want to pay by credit card, we give you opportunity, and you will see it out there. You can just scan that, and you can pay with credit card on there. But I will have them available. I have the book available, and I'll be glad to sign it. And even if you don't get it, I still love you. But would you just stand before you? I think Penelope, you coming back?
Yes,
we have other activities. But just join hands with the person next to you if you do this, and just say together with that person, together we are one. I am grateful for the person I stand next to. I thank you for that person. I see the goodness of God inside that person. We are one together. We are love, and we are loved. Thank you very much.
Let's just tell him thank you one more time. It's now the time that we have the opportunity to give back to that which feeds us. This church has been alive for many years because of the contributions of people just like you and I. We've kept it going. We've kept it going through the pandemic when a lot of people were unable to keep their churches going. So I invite you to give from your heart for what gives to you, knowing that this church is self-supporting and receives no funds from our parent organization. So think about that, and let's say our offering treatment, please. I live in a universe abundance as I freely and joyfully give. I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
And if you join with me, would you hold out your hands and from your heart send energy to that which has been given to us, knowing that it is multiplied and growing and doing what needs to be done, knowing that we go forth in this world and we are spreading peace and love and light. And from our hearts, we are grateful for this offering, and so it is. At this time, I would invite the practitioners and the ministers to stand so you'll know who we are, if you would. Kathy, Diana, Reverend Nana, myself, and we have practitioner students in here that we're grateful for. So if we can support you through prayer, through any way of speaking with you, let us know, because we're here to support you. So let's know this in closing. Thank you for standing. Today, I am greater than I was yesterday. I am greater than I was when I came into this auditorium today, because I have listened to truth. And the truth is setting me free, greater in every moment that I accept it. And we are here as a light, and we let our light so shine. We are not under a bushel. We are growing. We are glowing. And we are so grateful for what we have and what we are receiving. And we give with joy of ourselves, of our time, our attention, our money, of our substance. And knowing that we are in a time of transition, I know that what we are going through is calling us to even greater heights, with greater power going out into this world to achieve that which we want to see. We are that which we want to achieve. We are that which we want to see. And it grows in our hearts, and it grows from us. And it goes out to all the parts of the universe. Absolutely. So knowing that this is so, I am thankful for everyone who put this service together, for our music, our technicians, our ushers, our practitioners, our ministers, and every person who supports in any way in thought, deed, and financial support. I am grateful. Knowing this is so, I simply say thank you. Namaste, aloha, blessed be shalom, amen, and together, and so it is. Please welcome him.
Yep. Here we go. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. We see all people, all beings as expressions of God. We see a world that works for everyone. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. We see all people, all beings as expressions of God. We see a world that works for everyone. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. We see all people, all beings as expressions of God. We see a world that works for everyone. We see a world that works for everyone. See it, see it.